Thank you, and thank you for having me on and for covering this. And I appreciate the opportunity to present and to close it out for you all. Uh, and I want to thank the participants for their comments and insight. Very important to hear globally. About what's happening in the situation in Gaza, situation in Palestine, one that's dire, one that requires, it needs all our attention and all our efforts at this critical moment. ADC, similar to CARE, but on the and my colleague Edward Mitchell, but we're on the Arab side. So ADC is the largest Arab American grassroots civil rights organization. We've been around for over 40 years in Washington, D.C. And, Palestinians, the Palestinian issue has always been a core of ADC's mission and of our work here in the U.S. And what's been happening since October is really uh, we've allocated a lot of resources and a lot more effort than we have in the past, and that's because of the severity of what's happening. And we look at what's happening in Rafah today, and the direness of that situation, and what could happen, and what they're working towards, is one that's alarming, that's frightening, and that requires our attention. At the same time, you're seeing bombs being dropped on Lebanon this morning, and you're seeing an escalation across the region. So we are in a very peculiar moment where this, as we've been saying all along for months, and as other experts have said, this could expand into a more regional war, more regional effort. I think we're already there with bombs falling in different countries, and in Lebanon, particularly again this morning, with the situation of the Rafah border escalating. These are dangerous times ahead. And as one of the speakers mentioned, the focus is, what is the U.S. going to do? They are the key players in this. From our community's perspective here, the Biden administration could end a lot of this with a few phone calls, with added pressure onto the Israeli regime, and on putting pressure on Netanyahu to stop, putting pressure for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire, so the killing can stop and humanitarian aid can get in. But I think we have to ask ourselves now, what type of if a ceasefire is to be proposed by the U.S. and supported, what type of ceasefire will it be? Will it be a temporary ceasefire that's going to maybe stop the bombing and the killing for a few weeks and then pick right back up maybe when Ramadan starts or when Ramadan ends? So that's important to keep in mind, and the details are very important. That yes, the public pressure is working. People are taking to the streets. The boycott movement is working. The voices are working. Past the censorship efforts, past the efforts to suppress our voices, we're still being heard. And this administration is moving a little bit at a time, but is it enough? Is it nearly enough for what we need now? And we do got to keep that in mind. We do got to understand the nuances of their language and of what they're saying. We have to continue with the pressure. As was mentioned earlier, in the U.S., there is a significant attempt to really silence critics of Israel and silence critics of Zionism at a level we have not seen before. We're seeing that in the workplace, we're seeing that in the classrooms, we're seeing that on college campuses, and we're seeing it also on social media. We're seeing it with platforms like Meta that are taking off and silencing Palestinian voices. We're seeing that on TikTok, where Palestinian users and Palestinian allies are being silenced. This is all coordinated, because this is the first time in history where you have a genocide that's unfolding in real time. You have a genocide that's being, broadcast on people's cell phones. At any moment, you go through your timeline and you see video after video after video. So the Zionist regime, the Israeli regime, they're having a difficult time stopping this. They are applying pressure to tech companies. They're applying pressure to others that are in the space to silence our voices, to silence these people from speaking up. But again, we're breaking through on that. And we're going to keep pushing on that. But the next few days, next few weeks are very, very crucial. What we anticipate, this ties into the elections in the U.S. and with the Biden administration trying to salvage some support. We anticipate they will move a little bit on their position. They may even support a temporary ceasefire, but everything has to be in the details. And what that means. And we also have to separate the politics and the elections from the actual crisis, humanitarian crisis that's happening and the genocide that's happening. Our support for a ceasefire is not based on electoral politics. It's based on humanity and on the fact that this is the right thing that you need to do. That's the position the administration needs to take. You don't take a ceasefire in strong language because now you believe you're going to lose a state like Michigan, which has a very large Arab Muslim Palestinian voting bloc simply because, oh, now we're going to lose it. Now we need to change our rhetoric. The rhetoric needs to change and the position needs to change because it is the humanitarian thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and it's what's needed. And we have to brace ourselves as a global community what the aftermath will be if there is a forced transfer out of Rafah into Egypt. This is unprecedented. This is something we have not seen, in our part of the world since the Nakba, and this is a major concern and something we need to be prepared for. And we do need to understand that the reality of this happening is high. It could happen, but we do need to keep the pressure. And we need to organize, and we need to be prepared about how we, how we respond, how we push this, and how we work together, not just in the U.S., but globally. That's why I appreciate your organization. We've watched it from afar for many years, and follow your work. There is a lot we could do collectively on a global scale, and we're eager to keep that conversation going.